Hello, hello, YouTube, and hello to my fellow metalheads. This is Duke Grishnock signing in again to talk to you guys about my personal favorite death metal bands. Just as a sort of disclaimer, it's not in a traditional top 10 list. It's basically me listing some off and why I particularly like them. Some of them are more well-known bands. Some of them are not. It's kind of a mix, but it's just personally like some of the bands like in death metal that mean a lot to me in particular. Some of my favorite bands for whatever the various reasons are. Some of these bands I've known for a long time. Some of them have only recently came into my musical repertoire. That being said, I might redo this video later on if I start finding other bands and whatnot, and might move around the list a little bit. So I'm just going to jump right into it. The first band is Mortician. The reason why I'm talking about Mortician first is because they are the first death metal band that I have ever listened to. They're not the first death metal band that I've heard of, but they are the first death metal band that I went and listened to their music to. Mortician is one of those bands that you either love or hate. There's really no in between. They're not the world's greatest death metal band. They're definitely not. They don't really have a drummer, or they don't have a drummer. They have a drum machine. It sounds good. It's decent quality and well done. Let's see. Their vocals are some of the deepest vocals out there in death metal. I'm not exaggerating. Like, it's not even humanly possible. I don't even know how they do it. There's no way you're going to understand one single word of their lyrics. I can absolutely promise you that. In fact, I don't think they actually have lyrics. I literally think he's just grunting. And I know you're like, oh, that's like dumbest thing ever. People say that about death metal. I'm being literal. I love death metal, but for them, they literally do follow that like stereotype. A thing I like about them is their love for horror movies really shines through in their music. Some people don't like the fact that they throw all these clips in all the time from horror movies. It's almost every single song. It's the beginning. Not every song, well, the vast majority of their songs, it starts with either really short or like a 30-second clip from a horror movie. It really sets the tone for the song, and yeah, you can't really understand anything they're saying, but it gives you a little bit more context, and it kind of adds to the atmosphere of their music. That's why I really like them, because they're a really unique sounding band. They're not like super well known, and they're not completely underground, and I think that makes sense because they're very like niche, I guess. Like I said, you love them or you hate them. Mortician. Let's see, Zombie Death Stench. A lot of the same things I just said about Mortician apply to Zombie Death Stench. I heard of them because I listened to Mortician and was looking through the like album, the record company that they belong to, and started searching them and listening to their music. And Zombie Death Stench is one that stuck with me. Once again, very unique band. The vocals, some people don't like, which I could understand. They're really computer manipulated. They're really odd. A lot of it is very, very, very understandable, and some people like that and some people don't, but it's a very unique sound. And while I don't think I would particularly enjoy seeing them live, because I don't know how all of those special effects and shit that they do for their lyrics or their vocals, how that plays out live, but just casually listening to them is definitely a cool thing. It's not the easiest thing to find their music unless you like straight up buy it, but you can find some songs here or there on YouTube if you'd like. Autopsy. One of the bigger name bands. I really like Autopsy because of the fact that just like those other two bands that I mentioned, they bring something new to the table. They have a very unique sound. They don't have the world's super deepest vocals, but he's still, the lyrics are, the vocals are still pretty dynamic. They're not just a stagnant, like, same deep growl all the time. Mix it up quite a bit, and they really kind of created death doom as a genre. Not really intentionally, but they really helped pioneer that. Arguably even like helping with genres like doom and sludge and shit like that. I think Autopsy really played a strong role in that, because they're not a super fast band. I mean, they go like mid-tempo and then they really slow it down, and it's not really like breakdowns, so to speak, but it's just really slow, drony, atmospheric shit. And it's just very unique. And that's about it. They've been consistent through their career, so props to them. Nile. Wonderful. Yeah, just amazing musicianship, absolutely. I don't know what else really to say. If you like history, then check out Nile. If you like tech death, check out Nile. You've probably already checked out Nile if you're watching extreme metal videos and shit and death metal lists. You probably know them already, but fucking Nile. Jesus goddamn Christ. Okay. A Bloodbath. I fucking love Bloodbath. Nightmares Made Flesh is probably one of the best death metal albums of all time, and probably will be. It's great, particularly for people just getting into death metal, and it's also really great because it stands the test of time, because a lot of the lyrics are pretty well understandable, and they have very catchy choruses. So you can really sing along to the songs as much as, you can sing to death metal. But you know what I mean, growl, whatever. But they're so damn catchy and, like, melodic in parts, but they're still, like, so fucking brutal. It's just, like, the perfect balance of everything in just straight up death metal. And the vocals are not just cookie cutter, insert this particular type of growl over and over and over and over again. They really mix it up. He's not afraid to use some high-pitched screams in there every once in a while, but it's not enough that it's, like, kind of awkward or whatever, and would make you question it being Black and Death. It's straight up just death metal, but they're not afraid to really mix shit up, and they do everything right, in my opinion. They're a fucking amazing band. Yeah, Cannibal Corpse. I mean, yeah, fucking Cannibal Corpse. I'm not gonna rant about them. They're probably the most well-known death metal band out there. But they're one of the first bands that if you start getting into this kind of music, you're probably gonna end up checking them out first, or one of the first bands you check out probably gonna end up being Cannibal Corpse, and there's a reason for that. Suffocation. I'm a huge fan of Suffocation. I've seen them 3 times. Hopefully I will see them like 3,000 more times. But I can't stress enough how much I love Suffocation. And all they've ever done is produce quality music, but they have not produced the same album over and over again. If you really listen to their brand new album and you listen to their debut, night and day. Okay. And you listen to some of their middle albums and you're like, oh, okay, cool, this too, It's great because they don't just reproduce the same shit over and over again. They really have their sound. They have the Suffocation sound in all of their albums, but they're not afraid to tweak shit a little bit. And on top of that, the breakdowns for them are amazing. They are like the king of breakdowns. If you like breakdowns, listen to Suffocation. If you're a deathcore kid and you're trying to get into death metal, boom, Suffocation would be the first band that I recommend. And vice versa, if you're into death metal and you're like, okay, I guess I'll try to give deathcore a shot, then Suffocation would probably be a good way to kind of push you in that right direction. Arguably, like Infinite Annihilator 2 and some others would be good ones to check out too. But I'm not going to talk about Infinite Annihilator because that's for a different video. Vojvodina, might be pronouncing that a little wrong, but great band from South Africa. And let me tell you, they're a really unique band because they're basically slam or like brutal death metal, whatever you want to call it. It's more or less the same thing. But they have definite deathcore influences, but it doesn't dominate the music. It's in there, and it's something that is new in like the slam and brutal death scene, because a lot of that stuff is just rehashed. It's just like so goddamn overdone. There's thousands of fucking brutal death metal bands out there, and it's hard to sift through all the bullshit to find the good ones. And so when you have someone who's adding, yeah, we're that, but we're also this to some degree, and we're really good at both of those things, and you put that together, and it makes for a truly unique band. And their newest album, Psychosadistic Design, is a goddamn masterpiece. So that's how I heard about them. It's from someone who reviewed that album and went to check it out and was like, what? And I went and listened to the rest of their music, and all of it's solid work. But I'm really excited for the future of them, and I really hope they keep going with a similar sound, because the earlier albums, still basically brutal death with a little bit of deathcore, but I don't think they really found their sound completely yet, and I think they really did that with Psychosadistic Design, and I think that's going to be the album that really puts them on the map. It already has started to. Speaking of brutal death and slam, the next couple bands I gotta put in there too. Ingested. Now, I really like Ingested. I love listening to their music. That being said, I would much rather listen to their music on, a CD or YouTube or whatever. I've seen them live at Summer Slaughter, and honestly, I was not really impressed. Yeah, it was my first time really listening to them then. I'd listened to a song or two by them and some of the other bands that I hadn't heard of in that Summer Slaughter last year, 2016, and I liked it. I was impressed. I was like, oh shit, okay, I might have to give these guys a shot. But I really was disappointed with their live act. It was all just a giant blur of music. There's no real melody, but there's no real breakdown. There's no really technical quality that I could decipher, because it literally just sounded like a blur of goddamn music. And I think his vocals too come out a lot better when they're produced and go through the filtering of being placed on an album, because I really think their vocalists have a very unique sound, especially with his gutturals. They almost sound like a little bit of a whisper element to them, but I'm not saying he's going really quiet and you can't hear him, but he has an interesting kind of sound to it that sounds almost whispered but it's still very loud and forceful. So yeah, definitely check out Ingested if you are into that kind of stuff. Rendered Helpless is another slam band that I've really been getting into recently. They only have 2 albums. They've only been around for a couple of years, and I just kind of randomly clicked on one of their albums when I was just searching some random shit on YouTube, Slam Worldwide. Yeah, some of their stuff is really good and some of it's horrible, but it's a good way to potentially find some good shit. And that would be Rendered Helpless. They're everything I like in slam or brutal death, and they're really good at everything. They're not cliche, and it's not just watered down shit. They mix it up. They can kind of be melodic and have breakdownish parts, and they really mix it up, and they can do really good crazy fast stuff, but they can also hold the fort down and slow it down if they have to. And I love the sound effects and the intros and outros that they do. They're just fucking terrifying and disgusting. The album work is amazing art. It's got their own unique kind of sci-fi-ish feel to it, and I really dig that. So definitely check out Rendered Helpless.